Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time as I've been a fan of the series Radha Krishna since it launched. In case you aren't familiar, Radha Krishna is a mythological series that first aired on Hotstar in October 2018 and has continued into 2021, so about 3 years. Recent articles from Indian news sites have said that the show is set to go off the air after filming over 800 30-minute episodes over 4 seasons. The show has received acclaim from critics and fans alike, and many are sad to see it go off the air. And I thought, what better time to analyze the show and talk about what they did well and what I thought could have been improved upon. Starting with the positives, the aesthetics of the show are stunning. The color palette, the sets, the costumes all contribute to an eye-pleasing program. The soundtrack is also gorgeous and catchy, and I believe the creators specifically targeted the Gen Z population, namely those between the ages of 9 and 24, using these visual elements, but particularly with their casting choices. Not only do our lead actors belong to Gen Z or just about, but they're both highly photogenic and have wonderful on-screen chemistry. These lead actors allowed young viewers to both relate to and look up to them. Overall, I believe that this show is a fresh adaptation of Radha and Krishna's love story, but certain writing decisions didn't make sense, particularly as the show entered its second season. In this video, I'll discuss some of the best aspects of the 2018 series and which writing decisions detracted from its underlying message. As you might know, Radha and Krishna are two divine beings that are incarnations of two prominent Hindu gods, Lord Vishnu and the goddess Lakshmi. At the beginning of the show, we see Radha and Krishna dancing in a version of heaven called Golok. Krishna's devotee, Shri, doesn't understand who Radha really is, and in his confusion and rage, he curses Radha to spend 100 years away from Krishna on earth with no memory of her divine nature or Krishna himself. However, Krishna must also descend to Earth to defeat demons and evil forces that are terrorizing society. Season 1 portrays Krishna's teenage years in his village of Vrindavan, with Radha as our central character. True to the curse, Radha doesn't remember him, but their subsequent relationship unfolds in quite an entertaining way.
वैसे मुझसे मित्रता करने में समस्या क्या है?
क्योंकि तुम और तुम्हारी बातें दोनों मुझे समझ में नहीं आती।
फिर तो मित्रता और भी आवश्यक हो जाती है।
Over the course of their friendship, he helps her overcome negative, unrealized feelings like fear, attachment, anger, jealousy, pride, and unworthiness.
क्यों तोड़ा इसे? घड़ी क्यों तोड़ रहे हो?
दान दूं या तुम्हें क्या?
मुझे अपनी वस्तुओं से मोह हो या कुछ भी, उससे तुम्हें क्या मतलब?
तो मोह के साथ क्रोध भी है।
तुमने अपनी सीमा तोड़ दी है। नहीं बेचने मुझे अपने मटके।
क्रोध के साथ भय भी है। ये अच्छा मेल नहीं।
तुम होते कौन हो मुझे मेरे अवगुण गिनाने वाले?
बता नहीं सकता। स्मरण दिलाने में समय लगेगा।
I found the storyline creative, compelling, and consistent with the writings of poets like Chandidas, Vidyapati, and Jayadev. They all wrote beautiful poems from Radha's perspective that illustrate her emotional journey. Which other girl of more refinement has inveigled him away from me? Who has enticed my Sham, and what spell did she cast? Let her also burn the way my life burns away. These poets used vivid imagery to illustrate the intensity of Radha's emotions, but they also demonstrate how Radha's emotions become purified by directing them toward Krishna. I can leave him, but my love would not go. Sorrow surmounts my enormous love. I wish I had loved a little less. Where else can I go? I have no way open. Life sizzling on fire singes my limbs, and words of advice pour acid on my heart. Like death itself, Krishna's love is beyond remedy. Radha's marriage to another man is merely a vehicle by which she realizes her relationship with Krishna is still pure and valid while nameless. I throw ashes at all laws made by man or God. My wretched fate is so designed that he is absent for whom I long. I will set fire to this house and go away. Ultimately, Radha attains a perfect understanding of love, and the 2018 series indicates this.
दो प्रेमियों को सदैव एक दूसरे के वास्तविक स्वरूप का ज्ञान दिलाना चाहिए। और अब जब मैं अपना वास्तविक स्वरूप जान चुकी कि कृष्ण दिव्य है और उसने मेरे भीतर की दिव्यता को जागृत किया।
At this point, Krishna must leave Vrindavan to enter the next phase of his life. Shri Dhamma's curse for Radha to remain away from Krishna for 100 years is assumed to begin at this point, which is why Krishna can never return to her. Except that he does. In the 2018 series, Krishna returns to Radha after defeating his uncle Kans and freeing his parents. While this was quite a happy moment for me and other viewers, it was quite jarring to see. After helping his cousins, the Pandavas, Krishna moves to his kingdom Dwarka and invites Radha to stay, seemingly for a few days, just to help solve internal disputes and rifts within his family, which were inevitable given the fact that the Mahabharata ends when Krishna's family members all kill each other. But after some time, it's clear that she's not going anywhere. Fans might have sensed that this show was going in a new direction as Krishna entered the Mahabharata portion of the story. Creators might have feared that fans would drift away if Radha was not by Krishna's side. In June 2020, producer Siddharth Kumar Tiwari dispelled rumors that his star heroine was leaving the show, saying, "The show is basically about Radha and Krishna and it's about their journey. We have introduced the Mahabharata track, but that does not mean Radha's character is over. After the track ends, it will again revert back to Radha and Krishna's story. It will always be about them and their journey." I think this whole mindset is questionable. Radha and Krishna's separation is essential for several reasons. 1. They were cursed to be separated for 100 years, which is the premise of this whole show. 2. Radha and Krishna are already one person. That's also emphasized a lot in the writing. They don't need to be physically together to be together. 3. Viewers can't learn new lessons from other characters in Krishna's life if he's always focused on Radha. 4. Keeping Radha around doesn't allow viewers to see her true greatness. Finally, it prevents viewers from experiencing any suspense. There's no build up to their final union if they're always together. Therefore, the writer's decision to keep Radha and Krishna together derails the show's original intent and message. Let's delve into point number 3. Viewers can't learn new lessons from other characters in Krishna's life if he's always focused on Radha. Rukmini. Rukmini is, of course, Krishna's chief wife and also an incarnation of the goddess Lakshmi, just like Radha is. Rukmini enters Krishna's life in quite an interesting way. According to the Bhagavatam, Rukmini is engaged to a rather heinous and arrogant prince named Shishupal, and in response, Rukmini writes to Krishna asking for his help in taking her away. She writes about how she admires him and wants to be by his side always. Further, she tells him how exactly to get into her kingdom and when and where to meet her. Rukmini is considered by many to be a bold, elegant, yet humble character who has quite a unique bond with Krishna. I agree. I find her story to be quite romantic as well. In the 2018 series, Radha again lives in Dwarka and Rukmini has very little time with him. Krishna seems to hold back quite a bit around her, almost to the point of being cold. And any scenes with Krishna and Rukmini alone are either brief or entirely imagined. And I felt like this was quite a lost opportunity to show how Krishna relates to other people, particularly other women. Satyabhama. One of my favorite characters in the Bhagavatam has to be her. She is another one of Krishna's chief wives, and I love the fact that she has a different personality from Rukmini, and that Satyabhama is quite proud of her wealth and beauty. And the Bhagavatam describes how Satyabhama always remains a little jealous of Rukmini and is always vying for more of Krishna's attention as a result. One of my favorite vignettes involving Satyabhama is included in the 2018 series, but it's not quite right. Let me explain what happens in the story. One day, Satyabhama appeals to the celestial sage Narad to help her get more time with Krishna. And Narad says, "Sure, I'll help you curry favor with the gods. Just give me Krishna for a while." Satyabhama agrees, not really knowing what she's getting into. But Narad proceeds to treat Krishna like his slave, and Satyabhama realizes she's made a huge mistake. She appeals to Narad, saying, "Give him back to me. I'll give you anything you want." So Narad says, "Fine. If you want him back, give me his weight in gold." Satyabhama is delighted to hear this because she has lots of gold. She says, "Of course, I'll pay anything to get him back." And she and her companion queens, meaning other wives of Krishna, start to pile on gold and jewels onto one side of a scale while Krishna sits on the other side. And no matter how many things they put on that side of the scale, his side doesn't move. And she's wondering, why isn't it working? All of these things are so heavy. Why is he so much heavier than these things? And finally they turn to Rukmini, who figures out how to solve this problem. She says, "Fine, I think I know what's going on here." So she says, "Take all of these jewels and gold off of the scale, and I know what's going to balance it." And she takes a tulsi leaf and she puts it on the scale. And lo and behold, it works. It makes the scale balance. And this story has been described in different ways as to what the lesson was, but the idea is Rukmini was the only person that put something on the scale that represented her devotion to Krishna. Krishna himself is the world, and he can only be measured with love or balanced out by love. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it." In other words, no matter how small your offering is to him, he will accept it based on the feeling that you had when you gave it to him. It's pretty simple, and I like it quite a lot. In the 2018 series, Radha has a short conversation with Satyabhama and resolves her jealousy with Rukmini immediately. They do show the scale story, but it features Radha encouraging Rukmini to participate, and Radha being the one to actually hand Rukmini the tulsi leaf. This doesn't comport with the story. It's supposed to be all about Rukmini and Satyabhama's relationship and Satyabhama understanding the value of devotion and why Rukmini is so dear to Krishna in the first place. It's heartwarming and funny, and the fact that the creators didn't include it as is feels like a huge misstep and missed opportunity. At nearly every step, the writers of this show communicate either overtly or implicitly that Radha is superior to any other woman in Krishna's life. But if that's the case, then how can the audience hope to identify with anyone other than Radha? As you can imagine, all of his wives have unique personalities and ways of loving Krishna. So I can't help imagining how interesting the show would have been if the writers had allowed Krishna to offer all of his wives the same level of regard as he did Radha, but differently according to their personalities. This would have allowed viewers to identify with all of them, thus diversifying the pool of character traits and storylines and lessons. Draupadi. Draupadi is also an incarnation of the goddess Lakshmi, but she is not Krishna's wife, but his friend. Their friendship bond is so sweet and pure, and unfortunately, we don't see that much of it in the 2018 series. As you might know, one of the most dramatic moments for Draupadi's character in the Mahabharata involves her brother-in-law attempting to strip her in front of a crowd of people. When none of Draupadi's husbands get up to help her, she prays to Krishna to save her from humiliation, and he does. As Dushasan pulls and pulls and pulls at Draupadi's sari, Krishna adds cloth upon cloth upon cloth so that it never runs out. I love the story not just because it shows Krishna coming to someone's aid, but because it shows how Draupadi's chosen relationship with him, namely as a friend or sister, is perfectly valid in his eyes. Krishna is willing to become whatever a devotee wants. She dictates their relationship. And of course, this principle applies to anyone and everyone. In the 2018 series, Radha is the one to prompt Krishna to help Draupadi, which to me takes away from the original intent of this story, which is all about Draupadi's relationship with Krishna. Another story that the 2018 series changed was that of Draupadi's magic bowl. One day, Draupadi was asked to prepare a feast for a group of sages that passed by her hut. She had no food left in her magic bowl, which filled itself every day with just enough rice to feed her and her 5 husbands. She prayed to Krishna for help. He suddenly appeared and said, "Fine, I'll help you, but first you need to feed me." And she said, "Krishna, I don't have enough food for anyone." And he looked in her bowl, and there was one final grain of rice left. And he's like, there's one grain of rice, so I can eat this. He eats it, and he says, "Oh, well, I'm good now. I'm so full. Now everything should be fine." Draupadi was saying, "That makes no sense. I still have all these people outside to feed." But she looks outside, and all of the sages are resting on the side of the river, very full. And she's amazed by this. This is such a cool story. I absolutely love it for 2 reasons. One, again, it shows Krishna coming to Draupadi's aid, but also it shows how the entire universe exists within Krishna. So if he's satisfied, everyone else will be satisfied too. In the 2018 version, Radha and Draupadi cover empty plates and present them to the hungry sages. When the sages find food on their plates, Krishna says that the power of Radha's love made this miracle happen. Yeah, I am not a fan of this change at all. Now that we've talked about decisions that weaken the show's writing, let's discuss possible solutions. 1. Allow Krishna to leave Vrindavan for good, leave Radha behind, and show their stories in parallel. 2. Have Radha imagine Krishna in her life as she navigates the world around her, including situations within her marriage and societal judgment. 3. Build up to Radha and Krishna's final meeting. The fans would have longed to see them together, but that would have been the whole point. These decisions would have elevated the show's writing, maintained its original mission, and kept the fans happy. In Ramanand Sagar's 1993 show, Shri Krishna, we see what happens when Krishna leaves Vrindavan for good and how well the writing holds up. It really does. First, Krishna bids farewell to his parents in an emotional scene because we all know it's truly final. Radha waits until the last moment to say goodbye, and her words are quite telling. She says, "I know I can't stop you because you are destined to uplift the world. My heart is broken, but I'll put on a brave face. But how can I go on living like before? Life will never be the same. I bid you goodbye. Goodbye for the last time." Krishna then defeats his uncle Kans, frees his birth parents, and establishes himself in Mathura. He tells his friend and disciple Uddhav that he has a message for the gopis of Vrindavan, including Radha. He says that in order for the gopis to be free from the pain of separation, they should forget him. Uddhav, who considers himself to be quite the learned man, thinks he knows what Krishna means. He thinks that Krishna is saying that true knowledge is within and that love only distracts you from true knowledge. So he feels very confident and he proceeds to Vrindavan to meet the gopis. The gopis can't believe this message and tell Uddhav that they would never forget Krishna. He's everything to them. And they would choose the pain of separation over any so called bliss of realization. Uddhav doesn't understand this, so the gopis take him to see Radha, who says this: physical bodies can be separated, but Krishna is always with me. Do you want me to show you? Krishna then appears, and Uddhav cannot believe his eyes. How is that possible? Krishna then says, I am everywhere, but I cannot be seen just like that. If you want to see me, simply light a lamp of love. You'll find me standing there. When Krishna disappears, Radha says, he comes and goes like this every day. He never stays for long. But surely he's in the field somewhere now. He's probably hiding behind some trees. I'll go find him. I'll go find him right now. Uddhav then witnesses Radha going from place to place and asking the rivers, trees, and flowers where Krishna is, as if they'll tell her. For Radha, the whole world is alive, and Krishna is her only source of light, her sole focus. She is consumed by her own longing, but her mind is anchored in it. Therefore, while this life clearly pains her, Radha wouldn't choose another. What appears to be madness at first glance is really the sign of an elevated mind. Uddhav now understands what true knowledge is. He sees that devotion is both the means and the goal of spiritual effort. Radha was just a milkmaid in love with God, and that was enough to grant her realization. Uddhav can't help but repeat Radha's name again and again and again to pay homage to her teachings. Radha is Krishna's own self, his reflection, and his own bliss. Her emotional journey transforms her from a conditioned human being to an enlightened soul. Rather than quenching her desire, her separation fuels the fire within her, causing her to let go of worldly attachments and concerns. Her ability to nurture her devotion despite not being with Krishna physically shows her true greatness. She exemplifies Krishna's teachings. He teaches us that love is independent, within, deeply personal, and blissful in the face of pain. Radha is a perfect devotee, and it's why she's worshipped beside Krishna to this day, in my opinion. I still think the 2018 series offered something valuable to young and old viewers. We all connected emotionally to the main characters and learned many lessons along the way. If the 2018 creators had chosen to separate Radha and Krishna at the point that we all expected them to, I believe that the show would have taught viewers even more about love. Yes, we would have longed to see these two reunited, but the pain would have been worth it. As I held Krishna in my wide open eyes, I saw my life go. Erupting with the fire of love, my heart throbbed for nothing else from that very day. But the embers of my heart ignite unseen. Having surrendered all my care, I am your maid to be forever free.